Ken Curtis, the tragic real-life story and secrets. In the vast landscape of Hollywood, Ken Curtis shone brightly, leaving an indelible mark with his memorable roles and musical talents. But behind the glitz and glamour lay a life filled with an unexpected tragic death. Let's talk about the enigmatic tale of Ken Curtis, a man who graced our screens with talent but carried within him the weight of a tragic destiny. He was born in the United States. Interestingly, he had previously featured on Gunsmoke in different roles. He was first cast as Festus in Season 8, Episode 13, Us Haggans, which aired on December 8, 1962. His subsequent appearance was in Season 9, Episode 2 on October 5, 1963 as the character Kyle Kelly in the episode Loverboy. Although this fact is sometimes confused with a 1969 episode of the same name, Prairie Wolfer, made 5 years later, Season 13, Episode 10, it is important to note that Curtis joined the cast of Gunsmoke permanently as Festus in Prairie Wolfer, Season 9, Episode 16, on January 18, 1964. Curtis was the youngest of 3 sons and lived his first 10 years on a ranch on Muddy Creek in eastern Bent County. He was born in Lamar, which is located in Prowers County in the southeast corner of Colorado. For his father, Dan Sullivan Gates, to compete for the position of sheriff of Bent County in 1926, the family relocated to Las Animas, which is the county seat of that county. Gates's bid for the position of sheriff of Bent County was successful, and he held that position from 1926 until 1931. In addition to being a member of the Bent County High School band, Curtis was also the starting quarterback for the team's football team. In 1935, he received his diploma. From 1943 to 1945, Curtis was a member of the United States Army and served his country during World War II. He first enrolled in Colorado College to pursue a career in medicine, but he left after only a short time to pursue a music career instead. Curtis began his career as a singer before transitioning into acting. Once he began working in movies, he continued to pursue all these endeavors simultaneously. In 1941, Curtis was a member of the Tommy Dorsey Band, and he succeeded Frank Sinatra as the band's vocalist. Curtis held this position until 1942 when Dick Haymes formally replaced Sinatra. The suggestion that Gates alter his name to Ken Curtis came from Dorsey, who believed that the addition of Curtis was nothing more than an insurance policy against Sinatra's probable defection. After that, Curtis became a member of Shep Fields and His New Music, a band that included only reed instruments and did not have a brass section. When Curtis was working at Universal Studios, he married his first wife, Lorraine Page, who was also an employee there. The couple tied the knot in 1943. Curtis was a prominent artist on the long-running country music radio show, the WWVA Jamboree, which he also hosted for a good portion of the year 1948. From 1949 to 1952, Ken Curtis was a lead singer for the Sons of the Pioneers. The song Room Full of Roses and Ghost Riders in the Sky were among his most successful collaborations with that band. In 1945, Columbia Pictures gave Curtis a contract to work with the company. He played singing cowboy romance leads in several musical westerns that the Hoosier Hotshots produced, and he was one of the stars of those films. Curtis became John Ford's son-in-law after he got married for the second time. John Ford was a film director. In the film Rio Grande, Curtis worked alongside Ford and John Wayne. Although Curtis is not listed as a member of the major cast, he did make a cameo appearance in the film as a member of the fictional band the Regimental Singers, which was played by the band the Sons of the Pioneers. Curtis is most well known for his portrayal of Charlie McCory in the films The Searchers, The Quiet Man, The Wings of Eagles, The Horse Soldiers, The Alamo, and How the West Was Won. He likely had a smaller role in one or more of these films. In addition, Curtis appeared alongside Ford in the comedic Navy classic Mr. Roberts, alongside the likes of Henry Fonda, James Cagney, William Powell, and Jack Lemmon. The Searchers in 1956, The Missouri Traveler in 1958 with Brandon DeWild and Lee Marvin, and The Young Land from 1959 with Patrick Wayne and Dennis Hopper were the only 3 films that Cornelius Vanderbilt Whitney's C.V. Whitney Pictures ever produced, and he appeared in all of them. He does not receive credit for his role as FBI agent Jim Anderson in the 1957 picture 5 Steps to Danger. In addition, Curtis was the producer of 2 extremely low-budget monster movies in 1959. These movies were titled The Killer Shrews and The Giant Gia Monster. In addition, he acted alongside Sam Elliott in the film adaptation of the novel Conager, which was adapted from a book written by the well-known author Louis L'Amour. On the television western series Have Gun, Will Travel, starring Richard Boone, Curtis appeared as a guest star a total of 5 times. In the episode Jayhawkers from Season 4 of Gunsmoke, which aired in 1959, he played the role of cowhand Phil Jakes. In addition, he had a cameo appearance in an episode of Perry Mason titled The Case of the Clumsy Clown on November 5, 1960, in which he played the role of circus performer Tim Durant. After that, he had an appearance in the action-adventure series Ripcord, which was a first-run syndicated show about a corporation of its namesake that provided skydiving services, alongside the show's major star Larry Pinnell. This show aired from 1961 to 1963 for a total of 76 episodes that were each half an hour long. Pinnell portrayed the character of James Buckley, the youthful follower of Jim Buckley, and Curtis played the role of Jim. This television show contributed to the rise of the popularity of parachuting as a sport. In 1964, Curtis played the role of Mule Skinner Graydon in the episode Graydon's Charge of the syndicated Western television series Death Valley Days. The show also featured Denver Pyle and Kathy Lewis in guest starring roles. Curtis is still most well known for his part as Festus Hagen in Gunsmoke. In that role, he played a deputy who was unkempt, sarcastic, and illiterate. In 1967, he became a member of the Gunsmoke ensemble, taking the place of the deputy who had come before him, Thaddeus Thad Greenwood, who was portrayed by Roger Ewing. In 20 years, Marshal Matt Dillon had a total of 5 deputies, although Festus was the one who played the part for the longest, 11 years, appearing in 304 episodes. Festus was modeled by a local figure named Cedar Jack, who Curtis knew while he was growing up in Las Animas. Cedar Jack made his living by cutting cedar fence posts and lived 15 miles south of the town. Curtis noticed on multiple occasions that Jack traveled to Las Animas, which is where he frequently became intoxicated and ended up in his father's jail. Festus's character became well known in part because of that nasally, twangy country dialect that Curtis constructed for the role of Festus, but which did not reflect Curtis's true voice. Curtis traveled the country performing in Western-themed stage shows at fairs, rodeos, and other venues when Gunsmoke was not in production, and even for some years after the show was canceled. This was in addition to the typical personal appearances that most television stars are expected to make to promote their program, which is something that most TV stars do. Additionally, in 1976, when Ronald Reagan was vying against the sitting Republican President Gerald Ford for the nomination of the Republican Party, Curtis worked as a campaign volunteer for Reagan. Carol O'Connor appeared as a guest star in a pair of episodes of the Western television series Gunsmoke. Years later, Tony Curtis appeared as a retired police investigator in an episode of O'Connor's NBC series In the Heat of the Night. In Disney's animated feature Robin Hood from 1973, he provided the voice of Nutsy the Vulture. A decade later, he made his return to television in the ill-fated Western series The Yellow Rose, in which he co-starred with Noah Berry Jr. for the majority of his on-screen appearances. At the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum in Oklahoma City, Curtis was admitted into the Western Performers Hall of Fame in 1981 as the elderly cattle rancher C. Borntay in the television series Conaher, written by Western author Louis L'Amour. Curtis had his final acting role. Sam Elliott played the lead part in Buck Taylor. Curtis's Gunsmoke co-star portrayed a villain in the same movie. Dub Taylor, Buck Taylor's father, played a small part in it. In 1966, Curtis wed Tori Connolly. Up until his passing in 1991, they remained wed and he had 2 stepchildren. At 430 Pulaski Avenue in Clovis, California, in Fresno County, in front of the Educational Employees Credit Union, there is a statue of Ken Curtis as Festus. Curtis lived in Clovis in his later years. As a Republican, Curtis backed Barry Goldwater for President of the United States in 1964. Tragedy struck on April 28, 1991 in Fresno, California, when Curtis met an untimely demise. As the night enveloped him in peaceful slumber, his heart betrayed him, succumbing to a devastating attack. The dawn brought news of his passing, leaving a void in the hearts of those who knew and loved him. That's all for today, but don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. Thanks for watching.